So are we actually going to do this? Yeah, we are. Let's go. Well, hello and happy July. It is the middle of the summer. I always look at July as that halfway point because it is. God. Seriously. And I just feel I'm always in shock. How did we get here? But I'm excited that it is July because that means we have already had an amazing 2025 so far, the first half, and I'm ready for the second half to rock and roll. And that is why I'm bringing on to this episode Kate to come join me today, who you all know and love. She is one of our brilliant coaches in Empowered for More and loves talking all things digital growth. And she and I got together a few weeks ago. If you didn't hear about our retreat that we did where we got stuff done, go back and listen to that episode. But this one in particular, we are excited to kind of start talking about something that we saw was a huge gap in our own business at the little bit when Kate started working with me. We've noticed, okay, something's got to shift. And we noticed this with other women as well, entrepreneurs that we're working with, that there is some expired strategies that we are holding on to. And we want to talk about why they're expired and give you some start to think about like how to shift it. And so, like, we're going to talk today about how your marketing strategy is actually expired and what to do about it. So, hello, Kate, and welcome. Are you ready for this one?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on. I love coming on the show to talk about marketing things and how marketing has changed over the years online is one of my favorite things to talk about because, and you guys have probably heard me say this before. I've probably said this on this show. Like, if you learned business in the 1950s or 1960s, you learned a one way to do it, and that was how they did it, like forever. Maybe a few like shifts here and there, but like once you learned it, you had it. In the digital age, we're changing weekly, we're changing monthly. The years look like decades. And so if you've been in online marketing as long as Lonnie has, you're basically like, that's like a million years in like traditional business experience. And so I think it might be fun, Lonnie, if we before we jump into the expired marketing strategies, if we talk about like the evolution of online marketing some, because it's been a wild
Yes.
ride.
It has been. It really has been. I got involved in the online business space in 2010. That's when I really like not just was a user, but became a business focused, making money off of online. And it was, I call it the wild, wild west, really was what it was during that era. And it still is because there's so many new things and there's not really like hard and fast rules like you just talked about. Used to be like the business book was straightforward. You open up a shop, you put up a sign, you say open, you say closed, you get business. That is not the same anymore with the rise of the digital age. So I find that I look back with some nostalgia sometimes and think like, oh, remember when it was so easy and like I could literally write a blog post and a million people would see it. No, okay, maybe not a million, but like people would randomly find your stuff online so easily. Or when Facebook opened, I remember signing up for Facebook with a newborn on my chest and thinking like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, here we are. And then the Facebook business pages, and that was probably my favorite ever, that era of Facebook business pages where you could literally go to some, I did PicMonkey, this is before Canva,
I forgot about
PicMonkey.
PicMonkey.
PicMonkey. I would throw up a quote, whether it was a funny quote or inspirational quote on a pretty background, toss it up onto my business page, and suddenly get, a thousand likes, 100 shares, and 200 new followers. Just boom, done so fast. And now
It's
your
so
business page,
easy.
if it gets any kind of juice, I'm surprised. So,
Yeah, no kidding. You have to do a lot of work around that these days. But it's so funny. I forgot about PicMonkey. And even like back in the day, it was like, are you using PicMonkey or this new program called Canva? And Canva didn't do anything like it does now. It was like, I don't know, Canva is so clunky, it's so hard to use. Like when I first started making printables, we made them in Microsoft PowerPoint because you could not
mhm.
make a printable in Canva. It was just like there was no way. There was not the functionality. And then how that is evolved is insane. Like you can build a website in Canva now, like a functioning website. And
Hmm.
yeah, I'm sure that our experts would have something to say about that, but like it's design, it's possible, and it's evolved so much, even in just like 7 years.
Yes. What was your favorite old school platform or way of getting lots of juice in your business that no
Well,
longer?
so I joined online space later than you. I wish I had gotten on in 2010. I feel like I would have been like, oh, first looking back at all the access we had on like Facebook. But it was more like 2015, 2016 when I got online, and Pinterest was like it. It was the hot new thing. Like you didn't even need Google search anymore because Pinterest was going to send you all your traffic. So that's what I learned. And there were so many tricks that really would make your content viral right away. Like you would get so much traffic overnight. And in 2020, we saw a nasty dip in that. And then it's kind of come back
Mhm.
some. So, you know, one thing I'm noticing is a lot of people feel like these platforms are working against them. So if you built all your blog traffic or to whatever, your product traffic from Pinterest, and then it crashed in 2020 and you lost all your money, you probably hate Pinterest. Or, yeah, or if you were on Facebook in 2010 and your stuff all went viral really easily, you didn't have to do any work really for it, and you never upped your game when it got a little harder, you're probably, I see people who are bitter around that. They think that the
Yes.
platform is like the devil, the platform is working against them, like the algorithm is their enemy. But what I have to say about that is like, as business owners, we have to be realistic in these platforms. Like they have evolved with us. We have evolved, and so have they. And what they're trying to provide is a user experience that makes sense for the platform. So if you're bitter towards Meta or some other online traffic source, even Google itself, like it's time to look at that in a new way because we're going to have to always be evolving.
And that is the truth, is they are these platforms, one, they're a business and they're out to make money for themselves. Let's just be real. Like they, at the end of the day, are not a nonprofit. They're not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. And also, the algorithm is designed to be your audience's best friend. And so if we can shift the viewpoint and the mindset of like this algorithm really wants to help my people. So how do I work with it to talk to my people? Because the common experience that is happening right now that I'm seeing is people are posting quote unquote consistently. They use all the AI tools. They try to use all the hacks and rules and different posting things. Like for Instagram right now, the big thing is they're suddenly prioritizing carousels again, where it was all reels, and then before that it was lives, and before that it was stories. Like it's constantly changing. So we're doing a lot of content, but the problem is most people are getting stuck in old strategies that are not working. And they're feeling like the marketing that they're doing is shouting into the void, and it feels like I'm just sitting here waving my flag and nobody sees it. And it's frustrating, and I get it. Tell me, have you seen people or yourself or other people that you've worked with that have felt that frustration of like, I'm doing all the things and it just feels like it's just not working?
Oh my gosh, I see this all the time, especially with newer members of Empowered for More. They come in and they're like, I've followed all these experts and I pieced together all these pieces and like I'm checking these boxes and no one interacts. No one's signing up. No one's going to my website. Have you noticed that as well?
Absolutely. I felt the frustration. I'm just to be like, call myself out. Is like, I will get really mad at all the things. Like, oh, it's just not working. I'm posting nonstop. I'm trying to get attention. I'm trying to do the things, and it just seems like it's not working. And a little bit of what I've noticed too is like we are sometimes stuck into what worked in the pre-2020 era, and like the simple formulas, which was like, here's the problem, here's my solution, and come work with me. And it was like felt that easy of just a simple formula of problem, solution, call to action equals cash in the door. And that was so nice, right? There were also, I think, another thing that was feeling for me in the past, and I know for other clients who have been around a long time, is that it felt like there was a lot less competition in the past. Like, oh, there weren't as many coaches, there weren't as many product providers, there weren't as many people online. So, with that rise in more people in the business world advertising, it could feel like, oh, there's a lot more saturation. So now I don't, I have to deal with all the competition and then feeling like I have to also be consistent. Like, I hate that word. It gives me hives just talking about it. But like the pressure to be consistent was like really high back then too. Like if you didn't post for one day, you screwed your algorithm and you were done and you had to build it back up. It was pretty intense.
It took like 3 weeks at least. Like, don't miss a
Mm-hmm.
day.
Exactly. So scheduling was so important. I got to get on that Hootsuite and schedule everything back in the day. But I feel like it's changed so much because, you know, not necessarily because we've done anything wrong, but we just the market has evolved in the way customers are consuming. The platforms have expanded for sure. I don't have any stats in front of me, but I do know like the amount of people on like Facebook groups and Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, the user experience is so impactful. And then also the rise of AI, which is helping people like just explode with content. So, would you say that you would identify those as part of like this shift in anything else that you would add in that shift from like, oh, simple formulas, low competition, really basic consistency got me all kind of a lot of money, but now this is what we're feeling.
Yeah, I would say one more thing that really led to the rise of all this was when we were all home during 2020, there were a lot of people who suddenly had extra time. I feel like TikTok exploded right then and made like
Hmm.
audience growth so easy and people just being normal and shooting videos of it so easy. That combined with AI, and when I say AI, I mean like AI giving us ideas, scripts, writing posts for us. I think those two things combined have created this situation where we have to, you have to be better to stand out. You have to be, your message has to be clearer. You have to be bolder. You have to be stronger than the other content that's out there. And you cannot afford to show up and sound like Chat GPT. You can't use a basic formula of like, oh, what is your audience pain point? Talk about their pain point. And Chat GPT writing the post for you is not going to get you anywhere in 2025.
Yes, exactly. And I noticed something with the rise of AI. Let's talk about AI. Let's park here for a second. Is I've noticed some patterns evolving of like similar content or repeated things, rephrases, calls to action. Like it feels very, I always use this, but it's the truth. Busy, overwhelmed moms. Like that is just like the common phrase that I'm seeing nonstop. So it's the same prompts. We're like, write me posts about this, and then it gives you those same templates, hooks, and frameworks that it's giving to everyone else. So
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT, even when you tell it to act like be an expert marketing strategist and social media strategist and content developer and blah blah blah, you tell him how to act. He's still gonna give out the same formula as he's given to the other person who's in your industry sitting next to you using ChatGPT as well.
Another thing is, and Lonnie and I have both experienced this because we teach a lot of the same things. And of course, I teach her methods in her program. But even before that, we teach a lot of the same concepts and we teach them so differently. And our points of view on them are so different. And our practices are not the same. And they bring about different, like both quality results, but like different results for people. Like we noticed that when we started working together. And Chat GPT is doing the very most shallow form of that because it's working off of what it saw for free on the internet, basically. And so if you're using Chat GPT for your business coach and things aren't working out, that might be why.
Yes, that's true. And very, very true. If ChatGPT is your CMO and you're not putting any like thought into it, like how are you standing out? Because it still can't make you stand out. It can give you more content, it can give you ideas, but it often leaves a generic feeling and it just feels like we're being inundated by things that don't really matter to our audience. So like that volume increase, but variety decrease is for real a thing. And like you
Yeah.
said, it feels like even though we're very different, ChatGPT will spit out the same thing for both of us, even though we're very different in what we do and how we, you know, our methods. So I want you to like understand. that AI is great. We're not saying don't use it by any means. We're going to talk about how to use it and leverage it for like even more impact. We want to use ChatGPT. We want to use other AI tools like we love Claude. He is the best. But we also know we have to still be involved in this process because what's happening is marketing fatigue. Do you see this? Have you felt marketing fatigue like you've been marketed to? I feel like I'm getting more numb to this identical messaging rhetoric. You've seen one person post about fitness, you've seen them all. You've seen one person post this, you've seen them all. It's just very, if I see another person
Yeah.
who's like, make 10K in 30 days, okay.
So, when I was first learning online business, so I was tuning in to podcasts. Like back in the day, there weren't that many options, but I was listening to like The Gold Digger and I was listening to Amy Porterfield, and I would constantly come across ideas where I was like, oh, like these light bulb moments where it changed something about my beliefs. Like I can remember driving down the road when my teenagers were like little kids in the backseat eating ice cream and being like, oh, like this changes everything for me listening to these shows or reading content online. And these days, I feel like our audiences are seeing the same messages over and over and over, like you talked about. And it creates an entirely different emotion. And it's more like, oh, I already know that. So then I don't need anything from this person. They don't know anything I don't know. They don't know anything that everyone in my feed isn't saying. And they stop paying attention.
Yes, or they assume they've already tried, and or are they maybe they paid for something who's similar to you and not gotten results, and so now they're just like, well, I already tried that. It's just like
Mhm.
if somebody offers you some sort of like new solution, well, I've already tried that. And so they dismiss it really fast. And that's why we have to really set into the new reality of one, things are going to keep changing. Let's just be really honest. Things are not going to stop changing. We're not going to settle in here and be like what we're doing even this summer will probably be starting to be irrelevant in the winter time and going into 2026. So being able to like show up and say, how do I leverage what is happening right now and the tools and the changes to work for me? And to also say, like, how do I stand out? And to get really curious and really intentional about creating a strategy that can allow you to adjust with the marketing changes, but also keep you relevant, disruptive, and standing out. So I think right now, like, what I want to say is we got to go to, mm, pause that. I want to go to a tip here because I think we painted a good picture about marketing. We need to disrupt it. So how do we start this disruption process? How do we start to stand out? How do we start to stop being lost in the sea of the scroll of the 50 people who look exactly like us? That is the next question that I think I want to answer on this episode. And we're going to have several conversations about marketing strategy and how we're shifting the beliefs. And we're actually going to be hosting a really awesome workshop too. So I'll talk about that in a second. So stay tuned for that invite. But what is the first tip that I would you would say, and I'm going to tell you mine, and then if you want to tell me what you would say with like the first tip to standing out is for me, it's like what makes you different than your competition? Not saying what's similar, but like leaning into you, leaning into your personality, your story, your journey, your methods. Why are you doing? That's the first one I always start with a little bit is like, if I can understand that, then I can go to the next step because I want, I already know my audience, I know my expertise, but AI doesn't, and AI doesn't know me as well. So, how do I start with this is what I am, this is how I'm different? Let's start here and then go to the next level. What would you say is a tip for standing out?
I love that you started with like, how are we different? Like, what is it about me that's different? For me, though, my first thought is what's going on behind the scenes with my ideal client?
Mhm.
Because a lot of times what they're saying to us is not the whole story. Like, how can I start answering the whole story in my messaging?
So good. It's so good. I think this is so powerful to just like really look deeper than the surface level. And that's what we're like, what I'm excited to talk about. And when we talked about this problem that we've seen for our own businesses or for our audience, we noticed that there's this gap in understanding one, how are you different? There's also a gap in understanding the story underneath your audience because we're like, oh, just build an avatar, write how old they are, what color hair they are, name their name them something quirky like Melissa. You
Yeah,
know,
my first avatar was Stacy, and she had two kids, and she wanted to grow her blog. Like so specific. Like when you write your content, you're supposed to be like, "Hey, Stacy," and then erase the "Hey, Stacy" part. I forgot about that.
I know. So that's a great start, but how can we go deeper? Because we want to stand out like we know them already and build that trust faster and experience this connection. You know, you've all experienced it, whether you realized it or not. You've been in a scroll and suddenly stopped and felt like you were instantly connected to somebody, whether it was the words on the screen, the video that they were doing, or anything, that whatever it might have been, that maybe the way they looked, the way they filmed, you were caught, your attention was caught because they somehow got into relatability and made this know like and trust factor turn on and get you curious. And that is what we need. And we have to go deeper. Why did that happen? What was it about what they did that got your attention and kept and made you hit the follow button, made you hit the heart, made you comment, made you save that video? What is that? What is it that about what just happened? How do you go deeper and how do you find out about your own audience to make them have that same reaction? And that's what we're going to dive into deeper and deeper over the next few weeks. And in our workshop that's coming up on July 16th at 10:30 Central Time, we're going to go into a new framework that we developed out of this conversation. We literally spent hours talking about this because we're like, how do we show somebody this formula and make it so that it can evolve with the changes that are happening? How can you make it so that AI knows you and knows your audience better? How can you make something a tool and a framework that can elevate with you and impact your action with your content? And that's what we're going to be going into. So make sure that you sign up for that. We'll put the link in the show notes for you as well. Kate, would you say anything else about this conversation just to kind of wrap it up? Like, what
I
if
would so
somebody's relating to this? Oh my, I don't. I know you have stuff to say. I can see it on your face.
do. Okay, so what I have to say actually is that Lonnie is not hyping this workshop enough. This workshop is incredible, guys. I want to tell you guys the story of how we came up with it. We were at our retreat and we worked all day. We worked straight through the whole thing, but like good vibe, slow working. It was amazing. And we were sitting down in the evening and we were kind of going over what's happening, like what we're talking about right now. It was an organic conversation about how like the need for messaging has changed. And then we sat down and what poured out of Lonnie is going to change your life. Like, if you don't come to this workshop, I don't understand why you have a business. Like, this is going to be life altering and it's free. I wish I've said this before about some of Lonnie's stuff. Actually, I don't know if you guys know, but it's like kind of insane all the great free stuff that she gives. I said it before and I'll say it again. If I had had this when I was starting online, first of all, I would have saved thousands of in courses. And then secondly, I would have moved so fast. And this workshop, like we're actually implementing it within our own business. It's something we believe so strongly in that is going to make such an impact across the board for us and for you. We want to see you there.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. And I'm truly so excited about this. And I've
Mhm.
worked really hard to clarify it. That was something that we sat down before. Let me go a little bit deeper into the backstory. Is we were about to work on our messaging section for our action vault. We have an action vault that goes with Empowered for More program where the women who join can come in and get the resources that they need. And we have a section in there on messaging, but I definitely felt like it was not robust enough. It didn't have the AI information. There was some missing holes. And of course, I wrote on the top my old title for this section of the vault called In Demand Messaging. And when I wrote it out on this giant sticky note, I was like, I hate this. Everybody else is now calling their messaging in demand. And I literally saw it, no joke, 10 times that morning when I was getting ready and just scrolling my phone like I always do in the morning before we got started. And I saw in demand this, in demand that. And I was like, I don't want to use those words. Everybody's using those words. It's like overwhelmed now. And that's what started this rabbit hole that we dove into. And the more we unpacked it, the more I realized that the in demand messaging that everybody else is peddling is actually so falling flat because it is not giving you a whole picture, giving your audience a whole picture, or giving AI a full understanding of what you are capable of delivering to people. And that drives me batty is that, man, if some of my clients, I know how smart they are. I know how brilliant they are. I know how much impact and life changing, altering experience it could be if they had, like, if people worked with them. I'm not just wanting to say like, oh, because I want them to grow their business and make money, which I do, but I'm talking about the people that they're serving. Man, if they get access to them, if they can stand out, if they get the attention, my mind is just gonna like the world would be so much better because of the experience of my clients getting more clients. And that is what drove this workshop framework to be developed because I am so frustrated that good people are not being seen. And that's what I want you to come to this workshop to say. Like, I know I can make an impact. I know my business is going to do good things in this world. I want to help you get seen. And that's really my passion and my drive. So I got on a little tangent right there.
I loved it. I think it's perfect for this episode.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, guys, and happy July again. And if you're celebrating the 4th of July, I hope you have a really great barbecue and sunshine this week. I know I'm going to spend it in the pool. I'm praying for no rain. And come go sign up for the workshop, be there, and then make sure you're coming back to this episode or this podcast and listening to the next week's episode because we're going to keep going into this conversation and talking more about the shifts and changes and how you can take your messaging and marketing and let go of the old way and the frustration and step into a new way of feeling confident and excited and actually getting attention. We'll talk to you guys next week on another episode. Have an awesome week. Thanks for actually joining us today. I hope it inspired you to actually take the action to step into the empowered CEO that you are and getting more of the results that you want. Before you go, I have a quick favor. Leave us a review and take a screenshot of this episode and share it with your friends and on your favorite social media channels. Don't forget to tag us, actually.the podcast and Lonnie J. Jackson. And we'll see you next week on another episode.